Unfinished manga series. 3 words that strike fear and sadness into any manga fan's heart. With manga being such a vast medium with thousands of series to dive into, immerse yourself in, and enjoy, the manga fan's worst fear is the series you come to love finishing without a real ending. I mean, can you imagine clicking on a YouTube video that just ends abruptly and doesn't have a definitive ending? That would... But in all seriousness, it really does seem like manga and ongoing literature series are some of the only major forms of art where the audience can be enjoying the product and it can just end abruptly with no ending in sight. You know, an artist can't really release half an album, a director can't release, part of a movie. You could make a case for unfinished video games, but that's a topic for another video. But I decided that in today's video, I want to take a look at some of the most notorious unfinished manga series. We're going to look at the specific reasons and speculations as to why they're unfinished to this day. And finally, I want to discuss the question that I hear a lot: is it actually worth it to start reading a manga series that has no ending? So hopefully you guys enjoy this video. It should be a pretty interesting one. I really hope you enjoy it. If you do, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more manga videos just like this. So without any further ado, I say we get right into the video. So at the very tip of the unfinished manga iceberg, we have the hiatus. Now, manga series that are on hiatus or a break for an undetermined amount of time for whatever reason aren't necessarily unfinished manga that will never have an ending, but a lot of the times you can go years with some of these series and never even get a new chapter. It's kind of ironic, but one of the most popular and widely celebrated manga series, Vagabond, is a series that, to this day, does not have a definitive ending. You know, it's definitely not unordinary for manga series to go on hiatus if the creator needs a break, they have some health issue or some other reason for, a month or so, a couple weeks. But when one of the most popular series goes on hiatus for like over a decade, a lot of people are going to wonder if it's ever going to get an ending. Now, as for Vagabond specifically, the mangaka Takiko Inoue went on record to say that he was undergoing some unsustainable mental strain where he just could not work on Vagabond anymore. And he's currently focusing all of his manga efforts onto his wheelchair basketball series, Real, albeit he's doing that very slowly. But there are also speculation and rumors that Takiko Inoue may never return to Vagabond, whether it be a lack of creativity or drive to keep the series going, having already showcased part of the ending at an art exhibit in Japan. And right next to Vagabond, you have these other big, huge, massive manga series like Hunter x Hunter and Nana that have just kind of ceased to be releasing new chapters because of health conditions with the mangaka. So while these manga series that are in the Hiatus Hell category I'm doing for this video aren't necessarily completely done and unfinished forever, you can definitely understand why manga readers would be kind of afraid that their favorite manga series may never be picked up again. Now, taking a broader view, looking outside just the manga industry itself, there are some manga series that remain unfinished or incomplete indefinitely because of real events and circumstances happening in the outside world. One of the most notorious manga series in this real events category is none other than X 1999, or X, the shoujo manga by Clamp. Now, this is actually a manga series that I'm currently reading right now. I'm on volume 7, and I was super excited to start reading this series because so many people had recommended it to me. Come to find out, this manga is just unfinished and hasn't been touched for a long time. Now, at one point there was some speculation whether Clamp was just, bored with the series, didn't know where to take it, or was uninspired, or all these other reasons, but they actually made a statement about the future of X 1999 in an interview, saying that the themes of the manga were just a little bit too dark given the real-world events that were happening at the time in Japan. Now, long story short, 2 major themes of this manga are these earthquakes and disastrous events, as well as very graphic depictions of death and violence regarding youth. And coincidentally, as this manga was releasing in the 90s and early 2000s, there were some real disasters such as the Kobe earthquake, as well as the Sakigabara murders that resulted in the gruesome death of 2 kids in Japan in the 90s. And then of course in 2001, 9/11 happened in the United States, and that was just the cherry on top, it seemed. And Clamp stated in this interview that as they were going into the final part of this manga, the grand ending that had been building up, you know, the themes were just too dark and coincidental with real things that were going on in the real world. They didn't want to upset viewers, and they actually made a formal apology to the publisher and audience for having such dark subject matter in their manga. Another example of a real-life event cutting a manga's run short is another notorious one, that is Act Age. But I believe in 2021, the author of Act Age, Tatsuya Matsuki, was charged with an indecent sexual act on a middle school girl, I believe on a subway, and he was sentenced to 1.5 years in prison. And if this wasn't disgusting enough, his sentence was actually suspended for 3 years, meaning if he doesn't fuck up in the next 3 years, maybe the next 1 or 2 now, he will never see any jail time for this. Needless to say, whether the author went to prison or not, this effectively axed any chance of the manga series continuing, as the series was immediately cancelled and basically pulled from every single platform you could access it on. So not only is the situation just so terrible all around, especially for the victim who was, you know, obviously the victim of this attack, but also for the artist who was working on the series, who basically had her first real big popular series, you know, basically just stopped one day because the author was a fucking weirdo. I do believe that she is working on some other stuff right now, and I can only hope that she'll find the success that Act Age had, because, you know, this was a really popular up-and-coming series that was just cut short. I wish the best to everybody in this situation, obviously excluding the scumfuck author, but it just goes to show that sometimes real-world situations can completely derail manga series and end them forever. Now, probably the most common cause of manga series going unfinished is simply just a lack of sales or popularity in the market. And we've seen this recently with series like Samurai 8 from the author of Naruto. From the author of Bleach came a series called Zombie Powder, which some people say is pretty good, but at only 4 volumes released in English, it was cut short way before it was supposed to. And obviously there are way too many series that are now unfinished just because of lack of sales. I can't touch on all of them, you know, series come and go on a weekly basis in Shonen Jump. But there are a handful of manga series that still to this day have people that swear by them, that have cult followings, and it's just kind of a shame that, you know, this series that so many people are fans of just never got an ending because of lack of sales when it was publishing. And the final cause of manga series going unfinished is obviously one that is not easy to talk about, and that is illness and death befalling manga creators before they can complete their series. And I just want to preface this situation that obviously the health and life of the mangaka in all of these scenarios is the most important thing. You know, their manga series going unfinished are obviously the lesser of the tragedies in these situations, so just keep that in mind. This isn't like complaining, but it is an unfortunate reality in the manga industry that oftentimes mangaka will develop health problems that may even cause them to lose their lives before they can wrap up these stories and works of art that they dedicated their entire lives to. It's absolutely tragic. An example of a series like this is High School of the Dead, that I think only finished with around 30 chapters before the mangaka unfortunately passed away in 2017, leaving the series unfinished forever. Barefoot Gen by Keiji Nakazawa is another manga series that is left unfinished forever because the mangaka developed health issues and eventually passed away. Nakazawa had to abandon the series in 2009 due to deteriorating eyesight. He could no longer work on the manga series, and only a few years later in 2012, he unfortunately passed away. If you read the manga today, the manga ends with end of part 1, meaning the volumes that are currently out was only supposed to be one part of the main character's story based off of his own life, and we'll never get to see how things progress for this character that would provide a mirror into Nakazawa's own life. Phoenix is another tragic example where Osamu Tezuka, the godfather of manga, basically worked on this manga series every day of his life. It was his self-proclaimed master work. And after 30 years of working on it, he unfortunately passed away before it could ever be concluded. Now, I'm sure that a lot of you guys are waiting for me to talk about Berserk, which, you know, up until about a year ago, probably would have fallen into this category of a manga series, a legendary one at that would never see an ending. But fortunately, Miura's assistants and people he worked with that know the vision of the series have continued putting out chapters, so hopefully one day the series will be completed, which is amazing. But unfortunately, that's just not the reality for a lot of these other series. And that brings us to the big question of this video. Is it actually worth reading manga series that are unfinished? And my personal answer to that question is 100% yes. I have people ask me all the time, is it worth getting into Vagabond? I kind of don't want to read it because, you know, it obviously doesn't have an ending. And to that I say, there is so much content to be enjoyed and such a grand journey in some of these series that you're really just doing yourself a disservice by not going out and experiencing despite it being incomplete. I mean, take a look at a series like Vagabond. Of course, it doesn't have an ending right now, but you have 37 volumes in English, some of the most masterful artwork ever put from pen to paper, not to mention some of the most geniusly crafted characters and arcs in all of manga. Are you really gonna let the fact that this manga hasn't had a chapter in a couple of decades rob you from the fact that this is some of the best stuff you can read ever? Reading manga is almost never about the final destination. You're not necessarily reading just to get to the end. You're reading for the journey along the way. Obviously, that's super cliche thing to say, but it's true. The artwork, the impactful moments, the characters, you read a manga series to see their story progress, not to see where they end up. And specifically for these manga series that are left unfinished because their creators fell ill or passed away, it's almost a disservice to the creator themselves to completely dismiss their art because they passed away and it could never be finished. So I urge you watching this video, if you've wanted to read Hunter x Hunter, read Hunter x Hunter. If you want to read Vagabond, read Vagabond. If you want to read Samurai 8, maybe hold off on that. So guys, that is going to do it for this video, taking a little bit of a look into some incomplete and unfinished manga series for a plethora of reasons, and talking about why you shouldn't be scared off of reading a manga series just because it doesn't have an ending. So hopefully you enjoyed the video, and make sure to leave down in the comments below if some of your favorite series are unfinished, your thoughts on this question that I posed in today's video. Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more manga videos just like this. So yeah, this has been ThePromG. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and as always, hope to catch you in the next one.